Elon Musk parody reposted this, and I've spoken about this here and there uh, on my channel and tweeted about it quite often. How Gen Z, my generation, is drinking less alcohol, smoking less marijuana, all that stuff. And so this is a chart: Gen Z and alcohol, a fading bond, annual expenditure on alcoholic beverages in the United States by generation. And as you can see, boomers are the most, 25 billion, and Gen Z is only 3 billion. So, and it's funny. So, in my little small town here in New Jersey, I live in northwestern Jersey. I live in a small rural town here. I didn't grow up here. I grew up actually on the northeastern side, more by New York City, but I moved here about 3 years ago. And this is a more conservative, blue collar type area, you could call it. It's a good area. I like living here. People here are obviously much different than where I grew up, but nonetheless, it's a good area. It's a safe area. I don't have to worry about getting robbed, and I could trust, for the most part, the people that I live around. But anyway, not to get off topic, there are about 4 bars here in my town, and funny enough, they're all within a mile, and I live in between them all. So booze is very easily accessible in my town here. There's also not just 4 bars here that are all within a mile of each other, but there's probably about 5, maybe more alcohol stores, liquor stores, also within just a couple of miles of each other. So nonetheless, alcohol is very easy to get, even easier than marijuana, especially where I live here. There's also a dispensary right down the road here. So these things are pretty easy to get, but according to the statistics, Gen Z is less interested than the boomers. And anyway, what I was going to say with the bars here in town is they're full of boomers. That's all it is boomers. I've gone to these bars, especially when I first moved here, trying to meet new people. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll go back to them, and I don't like going to them. I never feel welcome because I'm, of course, of more so this generation. I'm 28. So, I'm more of this generation, the Gen Z, probably just the tip end of Gen Z. The probably just I was born in '97, so I'm like the top end of Gen Z, like the old side of Gen Z. But anyway, all these bars are full of boomers. I mean, not that there's not millennials there sometimes, or Gen Xers, or even Gen Zers. It's just so rare to see them there. There has to be some sort of big event going on, maybe for them to even show up, or a holiday season or whatever, to start seeing some of them. But even at that, it's like on a daily basis, weekly basis. I just see boomers at these bars. I'll be walking in my town, all that stuff. I see them out there, the same people ever since I moved here, out there smoking cigarettes, and it's obviously they're alcoholics. A lot of people in this town are alcoholics. It's a very big problem a lot of people have in my town. That's a big thing I noticed when I moved here is alcohol and cigarettes are very prominent. So some might argue this is a good thing, right? Some might say that this is good, right? And here's the thing: my little brother is 21. He actually just turned 21 in December, and I remember asking him if he was doing anything, and he said no. In terms of going out, my brother doesn't really drink. He doesn't really smoke weed that much. So some might say this is good, but what they are all on, essentially, or what they are suffering more from, is social anxiety. All this anxiety, this mental health issues, this and that, some even physical health issues because of the lack of mobility, the lack of social interaction, constantly being one with technology, engaged in technology, constantly scrolling, this and that. And on top of that, they are really big on big pharma. They love prescription medication. They love pills. They love the big pharma medicine. They love all these sedative pills that not only get them addicted, but screw them up mentally and physically and spiritually. Some might say this is good, but these kids aren't going out. These kids aren't interacting. Most of these kids don't have girlfriends or boyfriends about when they're done with high school, which is weird to think about, right? We pretty much all had a boyfriend or girlfriend in high school. But most of these kids are graduating high school, some even graduating college, without relationships. I can't tell you how many women I've come across that said that'll be 25 and say I've never had a relationship before, had a boyfriend. The amount of dudes that said I've never had a girlfriend, a serious girlfriend, anything like that. We are being divided, and I'm not saying smoking weed or like drinking alcohol is the answer, but what I am saying is these things obviously bring people together in some way, shape, or form, right? Alcohol is more so is a social thing. Weed could also be a social thing. But instead, people would rather take their ADHD medication. They'd rather take their antidepressant medication. That's the biggest one. The antidepressant pills from the pill popping pimps over at Big Pharma, right? And you want to get sedated off that, play video games, and just scroll, make TikToks, and have very limited interaction with people. And I'm not saying, obviously, all Gen Zers or Gen Alphas, if Gen Alpha is enough to go out even, I'm not saying that they're all like this, but I'm saying the majority are like this. That my generation got screwed up with social media for sure, but I'm in my late 20s, we're adults. But these are just kids who basically had it practically since they were born. I wouldn't say born, but when they were like 5 years old, there was social media, technology, giving it to kids, giving it to babies. It was already normal. And things are only going to get worse digitally. We're about to enter this digital world where everything is going to be digital. People aren't going to be interacting. Things are going to get worse. And I'm sorry to sound negative. I'm sorry. Like, I really, truly am. But someone's got to tell you the truth. Someone needs to tell you where the world is going. You've been lied to. I feel bad for these kids because I have a little brother. I have little cousins who are 17, 15, 11, 8 years old, and they're just very different, I guess you could say, than when me and my cousins who are around my age and a little older in their 30s, it's just different bond, different communication. Things were just different. And I think if you're around my age, and especially older, you know what I'm talking about. That even like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the way we were interacting was very different than what we do today. And that's because of technology, obviously, rapidly changing our environment. So I really feel for the kids out here. I really do. I really hope that, parents... Because the problem is parents don't know about this stuff. They don't know the dangers of social media, technology, the internet, all this stuff. They're just not educated on it. Because, even for parents, the biggest thing with parents, they don't have social media, but they have television. Boomers were mind controlled through television. That is and to this day, boomers love television. So that's how the powers that be gets the boomers and the Generation Xers through Hollywood, through television, through the news. Millennials, Gen Z, more so through social media, through these YouTubers, these social media influencers, the streamers. So again, just to reiterate, the powers that be are creating a digital world. We are going to be interacting with each other, not face to face as much anymore. The stuff you've seen in movies where you're going to be basically able to talk to your friend as if you're right next to each other, like your holograms right next to each other. And I don't know how it's going to look. I can't necessarily describe it, but we can only imagine with the movies we've seen. And we all know Hollywood loves to use their movies and call it fiction to socially condition us to get ready for stuff to come in the future. But anyway, I think I said enough here. I think you guys get my point. Let me know what you think. This is your best friend, Justin. Have a good weekend, everyone.